When Yukari wakes up in the morning, she takes care of the laundry that's piled up since New Year's and cleans up the kitchen. She reheats some of the red miso zoni left over from yesterday, adds some mochi to it, and eats it. The lead has currently passed Hiratsuka and is heading toward Fujisawa. She's never been to the Shonen area. The sea breeze is probably cold at this time of year, but she'd like to go to Inoshima sometime. When they have time, maybe she can go with Kohana and Yukiko. The doorbell rings while she's having those vague thoughts, alerting her of a visitor. Yes?
Hi.
The cold wind brushes her cheeks when she opens the front door. Happy New Year. Masaki bows his head, breath white against the air. Oh, Masaki-san, Happy New Year. Yukari returns the greeting. It looks like you had to clean up the office even after I got back. Sorry about that.
No, I was just there to pick up the New Year's card sent to the office.
Masaki keeps the office fairly clean, so all Yukari really had to do was take the trash out while she was there.
Do you need my brother?
Well, yes.
He's still sleeping, but please come wait inside.
That's unusual. Was he out drinking last night or something?
No, not exactly.
Yukari guides Masaki to the living room with a bit of a wry smile on her face. He had that much zoni?
Yes, he said it would be a waste to leave it. Go ahead and have some too, Masaki-san.
Yukari sets some hacho miso zoni in front of Masaki right away. Thanks. Expressing his gratitude, Masaki starts eating the zoni.
I wish I'd been able to prepare some osechi at the office as well.
You don't need to do that much for me. This is good.
We have plenty more, so don't be shy.
If there's this much of it, one bowl's enough. I appreciate it, though. Maybe I shouldn't have put 4 pieces of mochi in one bowl, Yukari thinks, waiting for her brother to wake up. Masaki sets the bowl on the table, holding it with his left hand while he eats. She wonders why he's eating it that way, then realizes that his wound must not be fully healed yet. She can see a little of the bandages around his arm inside his sleeve. She's heard that when you attempt suicide by cutting your wrist, you'll get to the nerves before the artery, which may spare your life, but could leave lasting damage. His grip strength must not have quite returned yet. But she doesn't want to ask him if that's true. Yukari was the one who found him, after all. If he doesn't bring the topic up with her, she doesn't want to make him remember it. He's working normally with her brother now anyway. Yukari doesn't know what her brother and Masaki are investigating. She's made it a point not to know. They do their detective work purely as work, not for amusement or on a whim. He's probably come to make a report on that matter, so she'll have to leave the room. She doesn't mind, of course. As long as it's nothing dangerous. She knows her brother won't avoid danger even if she worries for him. So all Yukari can do is hope. Thanks, that was great. Masaki sets his chopsticks down.
You're welcome. Would you like another bowl?
No, don't go to the trouble. I'm stuffed. Masaki says, laughing.
Alright.
Yukari stands to clean up the dishes. What are you doing here, Masaki? The door to the living room opens and her brother shows his sleepy face.
Good morning, Nissan.
Oh my god. Oh, good morning, Tokisaka-san. Hey, something happened? Masaki's over here pretty early. Though I guess it is almost 11. Early. I guess that's early to, Reiji. I thought I'd tell you about what happened yesterday.
I'll go make some tea.
Yukari gathers up the dishes on the table and hastily retreats to the kitchen. Make it really hot, would you? I'm not quite awake yet. I call out to Yukari, then sit down across from Masaki. You look into the Blessed Congregation? Yes, at their affiliated church I found Nao-chan, Kurtia Naori. Him. Sawashiro Nanako's companion, whom I met at Moonworld. So he was wearing those white clothes because of his affiliation with the Blessed Congregation. Well, I mean, why else would he be wearing them? I wear them as a fashion statement. Have you met? Yeah, when he was with Sawashiro Nanako. Then you already know everything, don't you? Masaki's shoulders drop. No, all I know is what I can infer from the fact that they were together, like maybe Sawashiro Nanako was a member. Not so apparently. According to them, Naori stopped Nanako-san from joining. You could have said so in the first place, you know. It's a little embarrassing that I was so confident about something I was wrong about. So if Naori stopped her, he isn't a member either. He works for them as a doctor, so he's on the inside, this is true, but he's never shown much interest in such things. Not someone to rely on religion, then. I don't think so. He was always full of confidence and more of a leader than a follower. Those kinds of people are the quickest to fall when they have some sort of setback, though. He was saying he wanted to save the children too. He probably agrees with the Blessed Congregation's teachings at least. They're both plausible, but he's at least pretending to agree with them. I don't know how much of what he said is the truth, but... Did he say anything else? He told me how the Congregation of the Blessed became Senri, and how Senri became the Blessed Congregation. I know most of that stuff. Then how about the part where they're trying to make a new Holy Prophet? That's news to me. I straighten my posture now that I know we're not just wasting time here. I've heard that the Holy Prophet has special powers. I think she could read people's memories or something. It's something I heard from a friend I can trust, but I just can't believe stories like these if I haven't seen the stuff with my own eyes. Do they have someone with a strange ability like that? I don't know. I wasn't told that much, but from what I've heard of the Congregation of the Blessed, I wonder if the Holy Prophet is something like Hinasama's Miko. Did that Miko have some kind of strange power? I don't know. I've never heard anything like that. If you think about it in terms of shamanism, it's not unusual to imagine someone with mysterious powers like that would become some sort of urban legend. Something like Hinasama's curse, for instance. I wonder if the Miko channels Hinasama and decides who the curse punishes, but that would be different than the Holy Prophet. I'm guessing the Miko didn't have as obvious an ability as the Holy Prophet, but was rooted in some sort of trance-induced illusions or manipulation by those around her. Well, making a new prophet probably doesn't relate directly to our investigation. Then is there any reason to be investigating the Blessed Congregation? Masaki asks, very frankly. We don't really know how they could be related yet. We should still try to understand the Blessed Congregation a little better. We still don't know how Itose-san is related to all this, I suppose. That's been established, actually, but I probably shouldn't tell this guy yet. Well, we've got a connection to the Blessed Congregation now in the form of Kurdi and Naori, so you probably shouldn't go sticking your nose into them carelessly. Then what should I do from now on? Well, let's see. I do have one important task for you. What's that? I'd like you to make contact with Hinagami Pharmaceuticals. Huh? Masaki's speechless. Well, I knew he wouldn't want to do this. Do I have to? Of course you do. I point at the phone. I don't know the number. Don't worry, I've got it. But, you know, the phone I'm pointing at suddenly starts ringing. I wonder if that's Hinagami Pharmaceuticals. Is that a joke? Of course it isn't, dolt. I grab the receiver. Hello, Tokisaka speaking. HNY, Tokisaka-han? I hear a cheerful voice. What the hell does that mean? What the heck is HNY supposed to mean? It's the New Year's greeting all the ball and Hepcat Bobby Soxers are using these days. The what? the what Soxers? What? God, this woman is crazy. I don't know why, but my head is starting to hurt really bad. I think I know why. Are these new words or old words? I don't even know anymore. So anyhow, Tokisaka-han, there's something I'd like to tell you. So, would you mind coming over to my place? Alone? Oh god, no. I've got a really bad feeling about this. If it's about the curse, I'm bringing Masaki. Oh, you're a threesome kind of guy? I wonder if I'll have the stamina. I'm excited though. Oh god, why? My bad feeling was right on the mark. If you just need to give me a message, you could tell me over the phone. No way. I take the receiver away from my face for a moment and sigh. I've got to go then. Well, I'm heading over with Masaki now, so no funny business, got it? Sure thing. I'm waiting. What sort of funny business? Don't ask me. Here? Masaki sighs when they arrive at the Takashiro clinic. Well, I did suddenly show him pictures of a corpse the last time we were here. It's not surprising for him to be on his guard. Nothing like last time will happen today, so don't worry. I haven't heard about any new corpses anyway. Though there's always the possibility that she has work that isn't related to our case. I don't know about this. They do autopsies here, right? What if we go in and there's a body cut open, right there? Don't make yourself sick with your own imagination. I give Masaki a pat on the back before heading into the Takashiro clinic. There's a husk cut open on the autopsy table. Well, his worst fears have been realized, I suppose. What? Natsume-san, something tells me you shouldn't be picking apart a tuna on the operating table. Okay, I thought it was a human body at first.
It just thought. It's delicious.
Natsume-san shows us a piece of tuna sashimi. It kind of bothers me that it's skewered on his scalpel, though.
Nana-chan went fishing in Kochi at the end of the year and sent this fella to me.
I'm gonna guess she stressed the truth about catching that. Not that I have any proof. So, what did you need? If she called us over to eat this, hey, I guess I'd eat it. I don't know if I'd eat that.
Well, I did call you because I didn't think I'd be able to eat all this on my own, but what I really wanted was...
Natsume-san sidles up to me. Was?
Aw, come on, you know, it's the new year. Ain't it time for some old traditions?
I figured it would be something like that. I'll just excuse myself. Oh no, you're going to condemn. You're going to condemn Reiji and Masaki. Don't leave him like this. Help him out.
I don't mind if you'd like to join us, Masaki-han.
No, I'll refrain. Don't take her seriously. I managed to peel Natsume-san off of me.
Aw, you meanie.
What did you really want?
Would you care for some sashimi first?
I'm generally in favor of that suggestion. Natsume-san cuts up some tuna, and I have a bit with ginger and soy sauce. It's good.
Ain't it? Fish is best when it's nice and fresh.
I'm not sure if you can call it fresh when it's frozen, but it's got lots of fat that just melts on the tongue. It would be even better with rice, huh?
Sorry, I forgot to cook some.
Go borrow some from the neighbors. I'm sorry I brought it up. Anyway, are we going to talk about what we came for?
I suppose we can talk while we eat. I got a call from the Toyama Prefectural Police. They said they dug a hole and found a pair of arms and legs.
I glance over at Masaki. This proves that he buried them, but... Can they tell anything about the person they came from?
Well, I haven't seen them, so I can't say. They're from a long time ago, but they seem to have been preserved well.
Then you could take fingerprints from them, right?
There's a difference between looking pretty and still having fingerprints. Well, they might be able to tell the blood type anyhow.
Natsume says, carving some skin from the tuna with her scalpel.
You can peel off the scales of the tuna and the skin's still there, yeah? It might be like that.
So she says. I turn to Masaki. I think they've got to be Satsuki's limbs. You said your mother's limbs were down there too, right? Natsume-san, could you determine the age of the person from the limbs?
I told you, I haven't seen him, so I have no idea. All the report I got said was that they belonged to a young female and that it had been over a decade since her death.
My mother died right after I was born. They would be about 30 years old, so I doubt they're hers. Natsume-san, could you examine the limbs here?
I don't think they'd hand him over. They ain't exactly like the dirt you brought back the other day.
If you could determine the blood type, could you compare it with the blood of the Shigusa and Hinagami families and see if she's related to them?
Nothing that convenient can be discovered yet. All we could do is see where she falls on the ABO system and figure out who her parents couldn't be.
Who her parents couldn't be, not who they could be?
Well, if the parents are both type O, the kid's gonna be type O too. If she's type A, we'd know those weren't really her parents. But if she was type O, it wouldn't necessarily mean they were her parents. That's what we could tell.
Uh-huh. Masaki's response is vague. I'm not sure if he really gets it or not. I doubt he gets it.
The police over there had to figure out the blood types of everyone involved, though. It's nothing I could tell him to do.
Maybe you should have Yaginuma-han ask him. Since you brought it up, why don't you ask him? Huh? Me? Well, I don't want to have to ask Yaginuma anything that's going to piss him off. Neither do I. Yeah, so he just tells Masaki to do it. It's like, I don't want to do it, you do it.
Well, you did bring it up.
If you say so, Takashiro-san. Masaki gives up, his shoulders slumping.
Call me Natsume-san.
Sure, Natsume-san. Masaki sighs once again. God, this crazy lady. By the time we've returned to the Shinjuku office from Takeda no Baba on the Yamanote line, the sun is already sinking behind Yadobashi. I've got a bad feeling about this, I mutter, looking up at my office windows. What's the matter? Nothing. Go on and head in first. Okay. Masaki enters the building, looking a little unsatisfied. I saw a figure in the window of the office for a split second, and I'm guessing it's him. Oh no. Oh no. Is it who I think it is? Did Yaginuma come here? Is he gonna chew us out? Sheesh, what a passionate guy to come around when government offices should still be on New Year's break. Inside the office is, just as I expected, the workaholic police superintendent himself, Yaginuma, occupying my sofa. Where on earth were you two all fooling around? Masaki's just standing there as Yaginuma nags at him. I probably should have killed more time outside. You can't expect us to be here when you haven't contacted us prior to let us know you were coming. I lend a hand to Masaki, having no choice. I couldn't imagine you having a leisurely holiday, so I assumed you'd be here. We weren't here because we were working. Forget about that. I should be on vacation myself, and yet I've come all this way. Well, that's your problem. Yaginuma takes an envelope out of his pocket and tosses it onto the table. What's this? It's the results of the analysis done on the dirt you brought back from Toyama and the dirt you found at the scenes. That's done already? I had the forensics men give up their New Year's for it. You'd better be grateful. I'm fairly certain he wants me to thank him for putting the forensics guys to work rather than them for doing the work. I pick up the envelope and take out the documents inside. The dirt I found at the Kamizono Mayu, Itose Mizuki, and Takemiya Meguri murder scenes all had a lot of aluminum content and volcanic ash. In other words, it's dirt from the Kanto loam formation, probably all gathered from the same place. So scientifically, we've proven that the three in Tokyo were killed by one person. Though we're not sure if it's one person or one group, the next page has the Toyama results. Toyama, the dirt from Kiramura Yuka's crime scene. It's from the Kanto loam formation as well, the same as the other three. So there's a good chance that the Tokyo murders and Hitogata murder were committed by the same person. Like I said, this does nothing to identify the perpetrator, it merely means that the clay dolls were all made with the same process. So the important thing here is probably that the dirt is from Tokyo, or Kanto. I showed the next analysis paper to Masaki. This is the enshrined Hinasama's clay? The sample we got from the Hinasama enshrined in the Hinagami household. It's clay soil with high manganese and iron content, like you'd find in the Hokuriku region. It also states the dirt contains calcium phosphates, suggesting it was from a place where bodies used to be interred. How can they tell about the interment or whatever? Because calcium phosphate is the main component of bones. Come to think of it, I think I've heard that graveyard dirt was used to make Hinasama. Guess it was made according to the legend then. But that doesn't have anything to do with us now. What we should be concerned about is that all four victims, including Kiramura Yuka, were murdered by the same culprit, and I'm guessing these murders don't follow the tradition of Hinasama's true curse. If possible, I'd like to investigate the dirt found in past cursed murders, but that would probably be too difficult and time-intensive. That's not all, Yaginuma butts in. The murderer brought a clay doll from Tokyo for the curse that occurred over there. The murder was a premeditated part of their trip. Undoubtedly. They had that much of a reason to kill Kiramura Yuka then. But she wasn't one of Masaki's Hinagami Aito's marriage candidates. The ones who were visiting the Hitogata settlement from Tokyo at the time were me and Masaki, and Hinagami Karen and Sawashiro Nanako. If we take myself and Masaki out of the suspect list, that leaves the two women. But all the victims have been women too. The killer wouldn't have to be a strong man or anything. The bodies weren't arranged in a way that would require much strength either. At best, they need to be able to lift the corpses and string them up. Of course, it's dangerous to draw those kinds of conclusions now. Hey Yaginuma, did you make contact with Hinagami Pharmaceuticals? The future CEO is sitting right there, isn't he? Yaginuma points at Masaki. Well, I guess he's right. We can't move openly on this. We have no solid suspicions against Hinagami Pharmaceuticals at this point. By at this point, you mean you're looking into something now, right? I have no reason to answer that question. I know that Itose Mizuki's father worked for them. That was fast. Yaginuma grumbles, practically clucking his tongue. I thought you said you didn't mind me digging up info that had to do with my own investigations. I don't mind you doing whatever investigating you're doing unless it interferes with my work. Well, I don't know what you're working on. Who knows when I'll be poking my nose into it. If you get in my way, I can arrest you for obstruction of justice. Yaginuma stands up. Oh yeah, can I ask you something before you leave? What is it? Could you look into the blood types of the Hinagami and Shigusa families in the Hitogata settlement? I don't think that's my job. Why don't you ask them directly? You don't think I should ask through the police? It's not my jurisdiction, so I don't see the meaning in me asking. As long as nobody complains to me later, I'm good. Alright, I'll ask them directly then. I wonder if Kuriya Yuzuru would look into it for me. Well then, I'll be off. One more thing. What is it? Got any New Year's gifts for us?
How about a gut full of lead?
Jesus. Ah, that guy's such a dick. After Yaginuma leaves and they eat a light dinner at a place nearby, Tokisaka sets the telephone down in front of Masaki. Alright, call. Call who? Hinagami Pharmaceuticals, you nincompoop. I want an interview with Hinagami Shizuru. Why don't you call? Do you really think that Hinagami Pharmaceuticals is such a friendly corporation that it'll open its doors to a random private detective who calls them up once? I guess I'd succeed the company right away in that case, huh? Masaki sighs. He's reluctant. He hasn't spoken to his father in over 10 years. During the short period Masaki was in the settlement after the war, Shizuru wasn't there. It's not as bad as his grandfather, but his father is a solemn man too. Masaki was afraid to talk to him as a child at times. He has no idea what to say to him now. Just don't think about anything else and tell them what you're calling for. You can talk about other stuff when you meet, right? Okay. He nods and picks up the receiver. He spins the dial to the number on the paper Tokisaka presents to him. The ringtone sounds. Tokisaka looks like he wants to say something. Masaki puts his hand up and points to the calendar on the wall. It's January 3rd today, Friday. Still on New Year's break? Did you know that when you had me call? Masaki grumbles, setting the receiver down. Should we try this tomorrow? If we call tomorrow, we'll only be able to schedule an interview for next week, right? I want to talk to him as soon as possible. Tomorrow, if possible. Then I'll try calling Karen. Masaki stands and heads over to his things in the corner of the office. If you had that, why didn't you just call there in the first place? You were the one who told me to call Hinagami Pharmaceuticals, Tokisaka-san. He grumbles, finding the paper with Karen's home number on it. It's not like I know whether or not she's home. He returns to the phone and dials the number. It connects. Hello? Karen, it's me. Guess he doesn't want to use his real name even on the phone like this. Nisama, is something the matter? I want to talk to Dad. Could you set up a meeting for us? Huh? I don't mind, but is this for that detective? Masaki raises his head and looks at Tokisaka. There's that too, but I haven't talked to him in so long. I'd like to take the opportunity to repair our relationship. Then you're finally going to succeed Hinagami Pharmaceuticals? No, I'm not talking about that yet. I just want to talk to Dad right now. Well, Father, the President, will be in the office tomorrow morning. Can you come here? Yotsuya, right? Got it. Oh, and... The detective will be accompanying you, right? I'll tell him that too. Alright, I appreciate it. He sets the receiver down. We can do it tomorrow morning. She permitted you to come along too, Tokisaka-san. What would be the point if I wasn't there? He's right. Masaki's not even sure he can hold a conversation with his father right now. Morning then. I'll come get you after 9, so get ready before then. Tokisaka stands. I don't think I really need to prepare anything. He'll just make sure he doesn't look absolutely terrible. You're meeting with your father for the first time in over 10 years, moron. Are you ready for that? With that, Tokisaka leaves the office. Is he ready? He supposes he isn't. However, this should be much easier than preparing himself to return to the Hitogata settlement. So he thinks. I return home, change into something more comfortable, and lie down on my futon. I stare up at the ceiling, musing. We're going to visit Hinagami Pharmaceuticals tomorrow, which Yaginuma also seems to be investigating. I'm not sure what exactly he's investigating, but we've got to stay out of his way, I guess. I can't help that we got dragged into this too. Well, if it was Yaginuma who figured out that Atose Mizuki's father was a former Hinagami Pharmaceuticals employee, then he had to have been doing some digging over there. I wonder if Hinagami Pharmaceuticals is connected to the Blessed Congregation. I can't really imagine they are. How would a pharmaceutical company and a religious group interact? But then, what about the Shiyusa family in between them? A religious group that was founded by a member of the Shiyusa family, which is related to the people who run Hinagami Pharmaceuticals. I wouldn't be surprised if they had some sort of convenient relationship. After all, the Blessed Congregation has another relative of theirs, Kuriya Naori, working for them as a doctor. Come to think of it, when I spoke to the Kuriyas, they said that Kuriya Naori worked in a Hinagami Pharmaceuticals lab, didn't they? Afterward, they said he went to an orphanage called something or other. If that orphanage is linked to the Blessed Congregation somehow, it all comes back to Hinagami Pharmaceuticals, huh? How interesting. I hop up. There's something important I forgot to do. I was gonna ask Masaki to do this, but I guess I can handle it since I'm not going through Yaginuma. Yukari's listening to the radio in the living room. Yukari, I gotta use the phone.
Alright.
Yukari turns the radio down. I should have looked up their phone number, I think. I flip through my notebook and find the Korea Clinic phone number. It shouldn't be a bother at this time, right? I pick up the receiver and spin the dial. Hello, this is the Korea Clinic. Sorry to call so late at night. I'm Tokisaka, the detective who visited you the other day. Is this Yuzuru-san? Yeah. Well, what do you need? I wanted to ask a favor. I'd like to know the blood types of the Shigusa and Hinagami families. For what reason? I can hear the caution in Yuzuru's voice even over the phone. We're investigating an unidentified body and the possibility has come to light that it could be somehow related to the two families. The arms and legs discovered in the mountains? So you're aware. No point in beating around the bush now. They conducted a basic autopsy here after all, though it was a prefectural police coroner and I wasn't even in the room for it. The investigators here are interested in them as well, and the superintendent would really like to compare the blood types of those who could be related. Yaginuma will be pissed if he finds out, but I bring up the police title anyway. Very well. Just the Shigusa and Hinagami families? Yuzuru acquiesces to my demands almost disappointingly quickly. Thank you. If you have any information on those already deceased as well. We have physical examination records. So long as you don't want anyone from a very long time ago, there shouldn't be a problem. Shall I send them to the Metropolitan Police Department? No, it would be great if you could send them to my address. I give him my home address. If it ends up in Yaginuma's hand, all I'm going to get is yelled at. I don't know when it will arrive at this time of year if I send it by post, so I'll send it by telegraph. I'll get it there by Monday. Thank you for everything. Oh, also, I almost forgot I had one more matter to discuss. Was there something else? About Naori-kun, you said he was working in a Hinagami Pharmaceuticals laboratory earlier, right? Do you know what he was researching? As I said before, I don't know that much. I'm not sure if he really doesn't know or if he's just playing dumb, but... Then, after that, you said he worked at an orphanage. Do you know where it was and what it was called? All I know is the name White Lily Garden. I see. Thank you. Please excuse me then. Phew. Got that taken care of somehow.
Would you like some tea?
Sure, I'll have some.
Here you go.
She must have already been making it. Hot tea appears in front of me right away. Thanks. I blow on it to cool it down while I sip. Wait a second. Are you starting school again this Monday?
Yes, I am. I'm sure Kohane will come tomorrow or the day after and ask to copy my homework.
Aren't you supposed to do your homework yourself? I never copied anybody's homework.
You're not going to tell me you just didn't hand it in, are you?
Well, I've got more stuff to do, so I'm going back to my room. I get up without answering her. It's not like she was right on the mark or anything. Sure she wasn't. I lie down on my futon again in my room. I've done pretty much everything I can do at this point. The rest will come after I meet Hinagami Shizuru tomorrow. Afterward, I should go to the Kuchiki Hospital. As a pharmaceutical company, I'm sure they interact with the Kuchiki Hospital. I saw Hinagami Kanen at the hospital, in fact. It'd be nice if I could hear some things about their reputation. But Kuchiki Fumiya is sort of related to them, so I'd have to ask Dr. Yamanouchi, I suppose. Though I doubt any scandals would have leaked to their business partners. Now that that's decided, I should get some sleep. I've got an early day tomorrow. I just hope it doesn't snow or anything. And then it snows. The rattling sound of my air-cooled engine reverberates over the lightly snow-dusted roads. We're going by car? Masaki mutters, his breath white on the air, as he comes out of the office. It's a quick drive to Yotsuya from here, and I'm sure we won't get into an accident with this little snow. Don't jinx us. You almost got into an accident once already. Do you mind if I walk? Of course I mind. I shove Masaki into the passenger seat. It'll be hard to slide on the ice with a rear engine. Hard to slide and won't slide are two very different things. Don't worry about it. I made it here, didn't I? That's not really the issue. I ignore Masaki's mutterings and get into the driver's seat, setting off to Yotsuya. Before we know it, we arrive at the Tokyo office of Hinagami Pharmaceuticals in Yotsuya. See? No accidents. Could you please not pretend like nothing happened? What's the problem? I didn't hit anything. I think spinning around on the Toden rails counts as an accident. That was quite a shock. If not for my splendid steering wheel skills, it could have been a disaster. Is he trying to do the Tokyo drift and the snow? I'm pretty sure everyone around just got out of the way on their own. Don't sweat the small stuff. You're not nervous anymore, right? I just got nervous in a different way. While we're talking in front of the entrance, Hinagami Karen comes through the doors. Could you please refrain from loitering in front of the building? Oh, morning, Karen. Good morning, Nisama. And Tokisaka-san. Thank you so much for today. No, thank you. But first, could you move your car to the parking lot behind the building? Oh, sure. She requests without so much as a smile, so I have no choice but to agree. Yeah, she clearly doesn't like Reiji. Please wait here then. We're taken to a reception room and Karen leaves for a moment. It's a pretty nice building. Looks like business is booming. You sure you don't want to succeed the business now? I bet you could live a life of luxury. I couldn't do that. I don't know the first thing about pharmaceuticals. Just start learning now. It'd probably help me out too. Shouldn't get my hopes up, huh? The door to the reception room opens and Karen returns. Thank you for waiting. I stand up when I see the man behind her entering the room. You must be Hinagami Shizuru-san. He glances over at Misaki and sits down on the sofa. I don't have much time, so could we keep this short? Shizuru gives Karen a look and she bows and leaves the reception room. Before we begin, you don't have anything to say? I ask Shizuru, indicating Misaki with my eyes. I was aware he was alive. I'm not really here to facilitate a heartwarming reunion or anything, but isn't there something that should be said? I should be making sure he doesn't get a bad impression of me first of all, but I need to say this. I was never home very much, you see. I'm sure work was much more important to you than home. Misaki opens his mouth. That's not true, Ayato. Shizuru looks over at Misaki, at Ayato, for the first time. A Hinagami must always put his household first. The scale is larger now, but the pharmaceutical company has always been the family business. Is that why you've been trying to get me to take over since you realized I was alive? Take over the family, not the company, I'm guessing. Hinagami Shizuru's only children are Ayato and Karen. Karen could just bring a husband into the family, but... I heard that Karen can't have children. That's why you need me, right? I see. Is it important to them that the blood of their father's family be passed on? But then Kuriya Yuzuru's son Naori would suffice, though I suppose they couldn't bring back a family member who had already left. Father and mother are the ones who want you to get married. The old folks just can't bear to see the Hinagami blood die out, Shizuru says. Grandpa said he was leaving it to you. All I've done is select candidates. Your grandpa is the one who wanted you to get married in the first place. Hideyomi-san did tell me he had left the selection of candidates to you. He also told me he only knew of 2 of these candidates himself. I interject when the topic of candidates comes up. Then you know that the candidates are being murdered as well, right? I'm aware. Shizuru's expression darkens for a moment. Do you know why they're being killed? I don't. I hadn't even spoken to one of them about the arrangements yet when she was killed. Which one was that? Itose Kanai's daughter. Mizuki, was it? The subject hadn't even been brought up with her. All I can think is that the candidates were somehow leaked to the killer. I'm sure you're right. Shizuru agrees. Can you think of any way they could have been leaked? Tapping in on a phone call with Hideyomi-san, for instance. When I spoke to my father, I went to him and talked to him directly. I didn't tell anyone until I had made some common plans for the candidates. Was Sawashiro Nanako-san the first person you told? She found him first, so... Shizuru glances at Misaki. Was it a coincidence that Kamizono Mayu-san worked at the hospital where he stayed? It was, though it's true, of course, that I went to her because I thought it would be convenient. Misaki clenches his fists next to me. This must be harsh for him. Would you like to wait outside? No, I'll stay and listen. Misaki bows his head, looking down. I heard that Kiramura Yuka-san hadn't been chosen as a candidate, and yet she was killed in the same way as the others. Do you have any idea why that could be? I don't know. She worked so loyally for us. Shizuru looks down as well. It looks like he really can't understand why she was killed. Of course, it could be an act. Why was Kiramura-san not a candidate? She should have been about the same age as Ayato-kun. Shizuru remains quiet, showing no intention of answering. So there really is some clear reason she wasn't chosen, and one that has to be kept secret. If that's the case, I have even more questions about why she was killed. Did the culprit not realize it because the conditions for being chosen are a secret? But that's no reason for the culprit to mistake Yuka for a candidate. There were 2 candidates in that tiny Hitogata settlement, Takemiya Meguri and Futami Yu. Was she attacked because the culprit thought any woman of the same age would do? I'd like to ask Hinagami Shizuru about it, but I'm not the police or anything. It'd be worse for this interview to be cut short right now. I don't intend to get married. Masaki opens his mouth, perhaps unable to bear the silence any longer. Tell that to father, not me. How am I supposed to tell him that in his current state? Then just wait a little while. He's aware himself that he doesn't have much time left. Has he been prescribed medicine or anything? We've arranged all we can, but there isn't any medicine yet that's effective against malignant tumors metastasizing all over the body. Terminal cancer, huh? And progressed pretty far at that. What will happen with his marriage plans from now on? We'll probably have to call them off at this point. There's nothing we can do about it if the candidates are being killed off like this. Shizuru readily acknowledges this, completely contradicting what he's been telling his son. But we can't let our guards down. Even if Hinagami Shizuru calls this off, it doesn't mean the killer will stop as well. Are there more candidates than Futami Yu at the moment? There are, I suppose I must say. Shizuru takes a piece of paper out of his pocket with those vague words. Sorry, I've always had terrible handwriting ever since I was a kid. He brings it up himself before I have a chance to point it out. The first 2 must be Futami Yu and Takemiya Meguri. Kamizono Tsubaki would be Kamizono Mayu's mother. For the next 2, I only ever knew their mothers' names. You knew the names of the mothers before the candidates themselves? I guess so. He said earlier that Atose Kanai was Atose Mizuki's mother. Then this last name, I asked him, pointing to the name Yoshino Midori. Just the mother's name. I've been trying to figure it out, but I haven't been able to find her daughter's name. But you know she has a daughter. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Is that possible? Not knowing the names of the people you're trying to bring into your household, instead knowing only their mother's names. Is that where the candidate's qualifications come into play? Have you shown this piece of paper to anyone else? No, this is the first time. Actually, I probably showed father. I wonder if he trusts me. Or perhaps he doesn't think I'll find the last person. May I borrow this piece of paper? Sure, but please don't tell anyone about it if at all possible. I'd like to request the same of you. If the contents of this note are leaked, the last person on this list could be in danger. Though the culprit may already know. Will that be all? Shizuru asks me, glancing at the clock. I suppose so. We'll end this here if I'll be able to talk to you again in the future. I'll consider it. Shizuru rises. Ayato. Yes? Masaki raises his head, taken by surprise. Shall we share a meal since it's been so long? Huh? Masaki looks over at me. Why not? I'm sure you two have a lot to talk about. I say, standing up and giving Masaki a little pat on the shoulder. I'll take my leave then. If something else comes up, I hope you'll assist me. Bowing my head to Shizuru, I exit the reception room, leaving Masaki behind. Well, at least we got something out of that. It's kind of weird that he only knows the mother's names. Like, it's like how convenient. We don't get to know the names of the actual, you know, the people who could be the next victims. We just get to know the mother's names. I mean, at least it's a lead, at least. You know, it should take us to who the next victim could potentially be. I take my leave of Hinagami Pharmaceuticals and drive over to Nakano afterward. It's past noon now, and most of the snow on the roads has melted, making them much less slippery. Under the overhead structures in Shinjuku where the sun doesn't reach was a little dangerous though. It looks like they've started outpatient care again today, but it's already Saturday afternoon, so no one's around. But a car is parked in the space that's farthest from the building. It's a Nissan Austin I've never seen before. I see someone in the driver's seat, so I park indiscreetly nearby and check. It's a pair of men who don't look suited to a hospital. They wear black business suits, but they don't seem used to wearing them. Everything including their car looks borrowed. If I had to describe them, I'd call them thugs. Perhaps noticing me, the car takes off. Wonder what that was about. I should probably inform the hospital just in case. That's pretty fucking weird. There are no patients in the lobby. A Kagami mochi is displayed on the reception desk without a mandarin on top. Kagami mochi is traditional New Year's decoration consisting of 2 mochi, a smaller on top of a larger, and a bitter orange called a dai on top of the mochi, or more recently, a mandarin. I wonder if it fell off somewhere. No, more importantly, I should find Dr. Yamanoshi now. I haven't made an appointment or anything, but I'll head to her office for now. I'll just hope she's not in the middle of changing or something when I drop in on her. That would be pretty typical, wouldn't it? It's like, you know, that we already kind of did spy on some women changing earlier, so hopefully we don't make that mistake again. Is something the matter, Tokisaka-san? She's in her office as usual. Well, it's not like I was expecting anything. Maybe he secretly was hoping that she was in the middle of changing. Happy New Year, Dr. Yamanoshi. Do you have a moment to talk?
I don't mind. What do you need?
You're familiar with Hinagami Pharmaceuticals, right? If you do business with them, I was hoping I could ask you a few questions.
Hinagami Pharmaceuticals? We've been in business with them for a long time, but wouldn't it be better to ask the director about that?
Well, Fumiya-san is a distant relative of them. I wanted to hear some opinions from an unrelated but involved party.
I see. Well, in my department, things like cold medicine I prescribe to patients comes from the Hinagamis.
Koharu brings over a bottle of medicine from a shelf. It has a Hinagami Pharmaceuticals label on it.
But this isn't new medicine or anything. Other companies make similar drugs.
Would you say they supply you because of your long history of business with them?
I suppose so. In recent years, they've been developing new psychoactive drugs, but that's not really my area of expertise, so...
Psychoactive, huh?
I could refer you to an expert.
No, there's no need for that. I respond when Koharu seems hesitant. The expert she's referring to is probably the one we both know, who's behind bars. Whatever you know is fine. To your knowledge, they've been making more psychoactive drugs lately?
It's common for drug development to take over 10 years, so lately might be too broad a range.
So even if a drug was recently released, it's probably been in development since before the war, huh? What would you say Hinagami Pharmaceuticals' reputation is?
Reputation?
Koharu puts a finger on her chin and thinks.
Maybe it's because I don't interact with them very often, but I haven't really heard much.
I see. If you don't interact much, you probably don't hear too many rumors. Which means I'd have to talk to the one behind bars. It's hard enough just getting him to talk, though. I'll have to go to him with some answers prepared already.
Is that all you need?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry for taking your time like this. Oh, that's right. When I stand, I remember what I was going to tell her. I saw some suspicious-looking men outside in the parking lot earlier. I don't know what they were here for, but please be careful. Koharu tilts her head.
They weren't outpatients?
Hopefully they were, but... There's that possibility as well, of course. But they looked like they were checking out the hospital. They didn't seem like patients to me.
I'll inform the director just in case.
Alright, thank you. I head out into the hallway, and a mandarin rolls down the hall to me. What are you up to? Michiru is squatting in the direction the mandarin came from.
I wanted to make you trip.
You're looking for a banana peel then.
Bananas are expensive though.
I guess they've gotten pretty pricey after the war with the import taxes. I don't think either of us really wants to be having this discussion. Michiru picks up the mandarin and sits down on a bench, peeling it.
Here.
What am I supposed to do with this rind? Do you want me to make someone trip? I doubt anyone could slip on this oilless, dried-out rind. And then a possibility comes to mind. Where did you find this mandarin?
On the floor?
Michiru points to a nearby area. It's right next to the reception desk. Did it fall from there? I point to the mandarin-less Kagami mochi on the reception desk.
Yeah.
Michiru nods and tosses a slice of the fruit into her mouth. You shouldn't eat that. You shouldn't spit it out either. Michiru groans, looking at me like she's not sure whether or not she should be listening to me. Why don't you just eat it? They'll probably clean up the New Year's decorations by the start of next week. Michiru stands up with the peeled mandarin in her hands and walks over to the reception desk. I'm wondering what she's going to do when she leaves a single slice of mandarin on the Kagami mochi and comes back. I don't think that's quite right either.
No good?
No good.
Okay.
Michiru gets up again and picks up the piece of mandarin out of the Kagami mochi, bringing it back over, and drops it on the way.
Oh. She picks it up, brings it over, and leaves it on my hand. Here.
You know I saw that, right?
You're greedy if you won't eat it just because it fell on the floor. What a waste.
Can't argue there. Well, the hospital's kept clean and there's no dirt on it, so it's probably fine. I throw the whole thing into my mouth, pith and all. Oh my god. It's pretty sweet.
Here.
The rest of the mandarin is shoved onto me. She hasn't eaten most of it. In exchange, she takes the rind I've been holding onto.
Think I can fake it with this?
She asks, balling up the rind into the shape of a mandarin. You shouldn't fake it, I respond, eating the rest of the mandarin. It doesn't look as good with the insides gone anyway, though you get points for peeling it so cleanly.
The insides.
Michiro stares at the mandarin flesh in my hands. There's not even half left.
Hey, Kero, this guy's a glutton, isn't he?
Michiro grumbles to her stuffed animal. It's my fault now?
No insides, empty, just like this eye.
Michiro holds her left eye that's covered in bandages. I'm not sure what to say to her, so I end up staying silent.
Are you empty too?
Suddenly, Michiro says those words to me. I'm thinking about all sorts of things. I don't think I'm empty.
That's your head. What about your heart?
Michiro's right eye stares at me as if looking straight through me. Who knows? I've got some thoughts on that, but it's true that there's been a hole there for the last 2 years or so. Can she sense that?
Oh, Koharo-chan.
Michiro places the mandarin rind in my hand and stands up.
You were still here, Tokisaka-san? What is it, Shirosaki-san? The old guy ate the offering mandarin.
I guess I did eat it. I'm not exactly satisfied with that explanation, though. She set you up, didn't she? We have plenty of mandarins, so you're welcome to have as many as you'd like. Thanks. All I can do is bow my head to the exasperated-looking Koharo. Yeah, she definitely just set him up. She was like, you're the one who's gonna look guilty for this, not me. Masaki waits a little while in the reception room of Hinagami Pharmaceuticals until Shizuru comes back with a man carrying a delivery container. He must have ordered out. I assume Karen's busy with work. Shizuru sits down across from Masaki. The delivered food is spread out across the table between them. It's thick meat, white rice, miso soup, and pickled vegetables. Do you not like beef stick? No, it's fine. Masaki shakes his head. Though this is the first time he's seen such thick steak before, so he's not sure if his stomach will appreciate it. Relieved that everything other than the meat is humble Japanese food, Masaki picks up his knife. Thank you. There's no point in being reserved at this point, Masaki thinks as he starts cutting into the steak. The knife goes through it surprisingly easily. There aren't any tough parts, and he quickly cuts it down to bite-sized pieces. The meat of strange beasts he ate on the battlefield were all sinew and bone. They weren't really even worth eating. Compared to that, this is so luxurious. He sets down the knife and eats the meat with chopsticks. He can chew it easily without putting much strength into his jaw. This shop only uses beef from cows on a farm they're contracted with. Shizuru explains without Masaki having asked. They make sure to breed a perfect pedigree of beef. I see. Masaki has no interest in this. Perhaps Shizuru picks up on that. The two of them eat their meal in silence. From an outsider's point of view, this would look very odd, Masaki thinks. A father and son sitting across from each other, eating in silence. Things might be different if Karen were here, but this mealtime is meaningless. Chewing his last bit of pickled radish, Masaki goes to stand. Ayato, Shizuru says to him, as if waiting for the correct timing. Yes? He sits back down, having no choice. Want one? Shizuru offers him a cigarette. No thanks, I don't smoke. He lies. Masaki does occasionally smoke, but he doesn't want a cigarette from Shizuru. I see. Shizuru puts the cigarette away, lighting his own instead. For a little while, nothing occurs in the room but the billowing of smoke. Masaki sits in silence, having lost the opportunity to get up. Your mother Riko was the Miko. What? Masaki's taken aback by the words that flow out of Shizuru's mouth with his smoke. It takes him a moment to even grasp their meaning. I mean what I said. The Hinagami family has always brought the Miko in as a wife. That's the custom. That's what the mistress of the Futami Inn told him 10 years ago. He'd thought she might have believed that because of Yu's words at the time, but... The same thing was planned for you, though there's nothing we can do about it now that she's dead. So Satsuki was the Miko after all. As the current head of the Hinagami family, I can't answer that question.
That again, after all this?
That's just what customs are. Shizuru takes out another cigarette and lights it. Even if the Miko's gone, I guess the blood still has to be passed on.
That's why you're trying to get me to marry?
Like I said earlier, we can't keep moving forward with this now that there are victims. Don't worry about it. He spits out smoke into the air. Well, I've got to get going. Shizuru stubs out his cigarette and stands up. Are you working for that detective? I am. I see. Shizuru heads to the door of the reception room. Wait, I need to know one more thing. What is it? Kamizono-san showed me a picture of you. Do you know where she got it? The picture that started this whole mess. Masaki ran from it, and afterward, Kamizono Mayu was murdered. Her mother must have had it. I don't remember giving it to her, but... I see. If you need anything else, feel free to ask me. We are family, after all. With that, Shizuru leaves the room. I guess we shouldn't be surprised that his mother was the Miko. The sky's dim by the time I return home. Well, I'll leave my car here and head out somewhere else for a bit. Oh boy, where to now? There's not many places we can go, actually. I guess we're off to Kishijoji. The shopping district near Kishijoji Station. I don't see any copies of the Sheep of Purgatorio in the window of the bookstore. I don't know if they've all sold or if they've just been moved. I don't intend to look for them. It's a meaningless story that contains no hints as to her location. So incredibly meaningless. Nissan? I turn around when I hear a voice. Yukari and Kohane are there. What is it? Kohane will be staying over tonight, so I was wondering what we should have for dinner. What would you like, Nissan? Whatever's fine with me. We can have what our guest wants. Then I want shark fin. Yukari, can you serve our guest taro stem miso soup? That might be a bit too... Then I'll settle for a bird's nest. Yukari, can you serve our guest bird's nest? Bird's nest? I suppose so. You're not supposed to agree! Kohane clings to Yukari's arm. I'm just joking. Oh, good. Honeycomb with bee larvae is much better. It's nice and sweet. No, I think I'll pass. Alright, let's stop joking around. What are you gonna make? Let's see, we've been having nabe every time someone comes over lately. I should make something normal every once in a while. I want sushi then. Yukari, can you serve our guest plain vinegared rice? I would feel bad just giving her rice. I'll at least put some bee larvae inside. Don't push your bee larva agenda down my throat! But you know, sushi does sound good. If we make hand-rolled sushi, we can eat what we like and it shouldn't cost too much. I suppose you're right. Let's do that then. I propose the idea to Yukari, who nods in agreement. Could you carry our things then, Nissan? Well, I guess that's only fair. I want to eat caviar. Yukari, can you serve our guest cod roe? He's just fucking with her. I love this. That's pretty standard, Nissan. Whew, I'm stuffed. After finishing her post-meal tea, Kohane lies back on the floor. It's bad manners to lie down as soon as you're finished eating, Kohane. Yeah, you'll turn into a cow. Yukari chides her, filling the empty sushi tray with their plates. Her brother has already returned to his room. Mind if I eat the leftover cucumber? Be my guest. We've got leftover nori too. Nori's all dry on its own, Kohane says, yet she still wraps the cucumber in nori when she eats it. I can't understand a word you're saying. I asked if you were done with your homework. So you did come over to copy it. Yeah, pretty much. How much did you do on your own? I solved the first 2 math problems. She's only done one more problem since New Year's Day. Either way, you won't finish now. Yukari looks at the calendar on the wall. Today is Saturday. The opening ceremony is on Monday. If she dedicates tonight to it, Kohane will probably be able to copy it all. If her concentration lasts anyway. Let's begin then. Yukari stands up with the dishes. Can I take a little break after eating first? Don't fall asleep, okay? After she finishes cleaning up, Yukari brings the radio into her room and reads a book, listening to music. Kohane sits next to her, furiously copying her assignments. Please think about the questions as much as you can on your own before copying them, okay?
The shogunate that started in 1192 was the Nara shogunate.
The only thing those two have in common is their Daibotsu statues. Daibotsu are giant Buddha statues, of which there are many in Japan, and including ones located in Nara and Kamakura.
It was the Kamakura shogunate. Yeah, I know. It's written right here after all.
Then why did she say Nara? Paying no mind to Yukari's idle questions, Kohane copies her homework, humming.
Hey, Yukarichi. What is it this time? Do you have anyone you like, Yukarichi?
Huh? Yukari blinks, taken aback.
Like the guy who was with your brother. He was cute. Masaki-san?
She wonders. Kohane has asked her this before, but she still doesn't know. She's never looked at him in that way before. She's never felt that way before.
I told you how I had a guy I looked up to before, right? You did. I didn't say so back then, but that guy was Yukiko-chan's older brother. Huh? But when you were talking about that, didn't...
Yukiko didn't seem to remember him. Even if her memories are fuzzy, is it possible to forget your own brother?
A lot of stuff happened back then. Stuff you'd want to forget too. Was it the war? I wonder. I don't remember it very well either, but we lived in a place with a bunch of other orphans.
It's the first time Yukari heard that Kohane is an orphan.
There was Yukiko-chan and her brother, and a bunch of other kids, but they all got taken away by people and separated. So that's what happened.
Yukari could do nothing but affirm what Kohane had said. She has no idea what to say to her.
That's why I wonder if something else happened after that to make Yukiko-chan forget her brother.
Would they find something out by asking Kayahara-san, Yukiko's mother? Yukari doesn't think she's brave enough to do so, however. She's not her detective brother. It's her friend they're talking about. She thinks they should wait until she says something to them on her own.
Sorry for talking about such weird stuff. No, it's not weird at all.
If Yukiko were here and she had told that story, would Yukari have thanked her for telling them? Right now, however, all Yukari feels is guilt for hearing this from Kohane. She's not sure how to deal with the fact that she knows something about Yukiko that Yukiko herself doesn't know. Convenient amnesia. She should probably remain calm, but Yukari has no idea how she'll feel when she next sees Yukiko. Masaki walks from Nakano Station to the Kuchi Hospital. There aren't many cars in the parking lot, this being a Sunday morning. In fact, there's just one, a three-wheeled truck in the back of the lot with its engine running. He's sure there are at least a few people in the hospital. Nanako said she was on vacation until the 4th, so she's probably working today. He has a few things he'd like to ask her. Things about Naori and the Hinagami family. Some of which would be difficult to ask Naori himself. No one's inside the hospital either. There's a Mandarin-less Kagami Mochi sitting on the reception desk. Oh, they still haven't replaced the Mandarin. He doesn't see Nanako. Is she in the back somewhere?
Oh, do you need something, Masaki-san?
Koharu just happens to pass by as Masaki peers into the back of the hospital. Dr. Yamanoshi, where might Sawashiro-san be?
I believe Sawashiro-san would be checking up on the inpatients at this time.
I see, thank you. He can't get in her way if she's busy with work. He decides to wait for a bit in the deserted lobby. Masaki sits down on a nearby bench. What should he ask first? Something to do with the Blessed Congregation, or with the Hitogata settlement? When he asks himself that, he realizes that she seems deeply involved with many parts of these incidents. Tokisaka must have picked up on that as well. In that case, perhaps Masaki shouldn't be delving too deep into this. In fact, if he puts her on her guard, it might make things even more difficult to investigate. But Masaki can't sit around twiddling his thumbs and doing nothing. He wants to confirm with Nanako some things he wasn't able to ask his father Shizuru about. Why was she given the task of telling Masaki about his marriage? There are many things about her actions he doesn't understand. She went with Karen when she returned to the Hitogata settlement in Shizuru's place. Apparently she told Tokisaka it was because she was indebted to them, but...
Oh, Ayato-kun.
Masaki turns his head, hearing his real name. Nanako is walking toward him from the hallway. Nanako-san. Nanako starts speaking again before he can tell her he'd prefer if she called him Masaki.
Ayato-kun, have you seen Shirosaki-san?
Shirosaki-san? She must mean Shirosaki Michiru. Is something the matter?
It's time to check her temperature, but she's not in her room. Where did she go?
Masaki has never actually seen her in her room in the first place. I'm sure she couldn't have gone far.
That's what I figured, so I've been looking for her, but she was just in her room.
When Nanako looks around the area, Masaki finds himself doing the same. Of course, if they could find her simply by doing this, there would be no problem. Could she be in a different room?
I suppose. I'll look for her a little more. Aito-kun, could you...
She seems to suddenly realize something.
Masaki-san, could you search around outside for me? I don't think she would have just left, but...
I understand. He can ask his questions later. Masaki stands up and heads outside. Well then. He leaves from the entrance and looks around. He doesn't see anyone walking on the street. Naturally, that includes Michiru. There isn't even anyone around to question. There aren't any cars in the parking lot, and there's nowhere to hide either. He should look around the hospital's campus a little more. Masaki heads out to the street, looking around for Michiru. It's cold enough that it's probably pretty chilly being outside in thin hospital clothes. He doubts she'd go outside, but he heads around the block near the hospital, but sees no sign of Michiru. She must be inside the hospital after all. For now, Masaki returns to the entrance of the building. He stares out at the vacant parking lot, wondering where Michiru went. There's something on the ground. He walks over and finds that it's the stuffed animal Michiru is always carrying around. Uh-oh. Something bad happened to her? What's this doing here? Masaki suddenly realizes. There was a 3-wheeled truck parked here just a bit ago. There are clear tire marks on the snowy ground as well. He must not have seen it when he got here because it was in the shadow of the truck. This is near the rear entrance of the hospital. Michiru could have come out from over here. A lot of people probably use this entrance, so there are quite a few footprints on the ground here. But none that could match Michiru's. They could have been erased by other footprints. He has no way of knowing. Whatever the case, it doesn't change the fact that the stuffed animal was here. What conclusion should he come to here? It would be better if Tokisaka were here too, but right now Masaki has to decide. Did she run away? That's all he can figure if she's nowhere nearby, nor inside the hospital. They should probably search a slightly larger area. He'll start with the station. If he can still find her, they'll have to search the whole area. Deciding to take action instead of standing here thinking about it, Masaki walks off to the station, searching every nook and cranny on the way. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was definitely kidnapped. Upon receiving a call at home, I take the car to the Kuchiki Hospital at top speed. The unease I feel doesn't abate the entire time I'm driving. Michiru's disappeared from the hospital, that's all I've heard. I'm forced to recall the situation from almost 2 years ago, when she suddenly disappeared from her hospital room. I know the situation is completely different. However, if there's anything I must do, it's avoid a repetition of that day.
Tokisaka-san.
Nanako stands alone in the deserted lobby. Where's Masaki? I don't see him anywhere.
Masaki-san said Shirosaki-san may be in the area, so he's searching for her nearby.
We wouldn't be in this mess if she was still around here. That dolt didn't consider the worst case scenario before acting? Did you contact the police? I recall the suspicious characters I saw here yesterday.
Yes, we did. The director is talking to them now. They only sent one officer from the nearest police station, though.
I'd prefer if we could get headquarters involved and do a sweep of the area, but...
I don't think we should make that big of a deal out of it.
It's too late to move after something's happened. 2 years ago, we let one of the culprits die and the other one get away. I don't want to make the same mistake. Oh, Tokisaka-san. The entrance opens and Masaki walks in. Find her? It probably goes without saying, but I feel the need to ask anyway. Like I expected, Masaki shakes his head. It doesn't look like she's in the area. I wonder where she went. I saw a pair of suspicious men in the parking lot here yesterday. In the worst case scenario, we could be dealing with a kidnapping case. I think you're overthinking things, but... Masaki sets a filthy stuffed animal atop a bench. What's that? It looks like the stuffed rabbit Michiru is always holding. It was in the parking lot, so I'm sure she went outside, but... You numbskull! If it was in the parking lot, that means she was in a position where she wasn't able to pick it up. What is it? This morning, next to where I found the stuffed animal, there was a truck. It disappeared right afterward, so maybe... Do you remember the license plate? No, I wasn't looking that hard at it.
Today's Sunday, so I don't think we'd have any contractors visiting.
It's not too late now. We'll request backup from the police. right when I'm about to suggest that we need to expand our search area. The door opens and Kohara walks in, Michiru accompanying her.
I found Shirosaki-san.
So this was all just bullshit. She wasn't even kidnapped. Really? Where was she?
I found her standing next to a nearby street. I'm so glad.
Nanako embraces Michiru. Did you ask her what happened? I asked Dr. Yamanoshi, who brought Michiru back, rather than the girl herself.
Well, she wouldn't tell me anything.
Kohara's shoulders slump. But this is pretty suspicious, though. Why is there this weird truck hanging out there? Why there's some suspicious men parked at the hospital? Like, that, there's that, too, to consider. You know, like, what's going on with that?
Her clothes are dirty all over. I don't think she was just wandering around the area.
Well, let's just be glad that we found her now. I'm sorry, but could you inform Fumiya-san as well?
Sure thing. We caused that policeman some trouble too, I'm sure.
Koharu leaves down the hallway. Michiru slips out of Nanako's arms and snatches up the stuffed animal sitting on the bench.
Carol, thank goodness.
I see a relieved expression on her face I've never witnessed before. Where were you? Misaki asks Michiru.
Nowhere.
Michiru shakes her head. Don't lie to me. Wait a second. I stop Misaki from getting angry with her. First, you should change out of those dirty clothes. Sawashiro-san, could you get her some clean clothes?
Yes, I'll do that. I'll prepare a bath as well.
Nanako leaves. Tokisaka-san, she couldn't have gone nowhere. I'm well aware. It's clear that something happened to her. But as for what, she won't say. Hey, Michiru.
What?
Michiru looks this way. The bandages covering her left eye are dirty as well. You should probably change those bandages while you're at it. And your shoes are dirty too. Michiru takes off her indoor shoes. I reach out and take them, examining their soles. She must have been walking around outside with them. They're wet and muddy. But when I give it a little wipe, it comes off right away, revealing a clean sole beneath. If she were walking around for a long time, there should be more pebbles stuck and things like that. The fact that I don't see any of that means...
Are you smelling them?
No, I'm not. I give her shoes back. So, what really happened?
I promised I wouldn't tell anyone.
Promised, huh? I let out a sigh. Who did you promise? Michiru ducks her head down and grabs my clothes. Don't be so threatening. But, if she promised, I guess there's nothing we can do, right? Michiru nods.
Shirosaki-san, want to go take a bath?
Michiru stands up from the bench, following Nanako.
Oh, this is for you.
Michiru takes something out from her pocket and puts it in Misaki's and my hands.
Bye-bye.
Nanako and Michiru head down the hallway. What on earth does this mean, I wonder? In our hands are pieces of mandarin still wrapped in rind. Maybe she dropped pieces of mandarin along the way wherever she went. How many pieces do you think that would take? I toss the thing into my mouth, rind and all. It's a slightly sweet mandarin, just like the one yesterday. So that was all just a wild goose chase. I'll do a little more looking then. Knock yourself out, though it'd be best if we could hear it directly from her. It seems like getting anything from Michiru will be difficult. It's obvious that she was abducted by someone though, right? If she were walking around on her own, her shoes would have been much dirtier. I'm guessing she was on the truck that disappeared. But since I haven't seen it myself, I can't really do much about that investigation. Maybe someone should keep an eye on Michiru so she's not taken again. Yeah, I mean, you'd think that's the hospital staff's job. I guess I'll see if I can find the car you said you saw yesterday. It was called an Austin or some such, right? A Nissan Austin Cambridge. It's a new car, so there shouldn't be too many of them on the road now. Don't mistake it with the previous Somerset, okay? I'm not sure what the difference is myself. Well, just do something. Oh, that's right. I want to ask you to do something tomorrow, so keep your schedule open. It's not like I've got anything planned anyway. See ya. Misaki leaves the hospital. Well, I should get going too. Where to today? Guess it's off to Inokashira Park. I walk around the pond at Inokashira Park. There's a thin film of ice around its edge. The water's been cold lately, but it's about to get even colder pretty soon. I don't think the pond freezes over that often, but if it does, it'll probably be trouble for the ducks and so forth. Well, there's no point in me worrying about that. While I'm pondering such things, I notice a familiar girl up ahead. Oh. Yeah, she does like to hang out here. I'm just wondering what Yukiko, like, why is Yukiko important to the story? There's so many things that I still have questions about. Like, I think at this point we're halfway, or at least more than halfway through this game, but it's just like, we still have, like, we had maybe some questions answered, but there's still just so many that we just don't know anything about. And it really is a very interesting mystery, but I don't know. I don't know what's going, like, I don't know what relation Yukiko has to this. I don't know why she's having, like, nightmares about her possibly killing somebody. I don't know. I'm just as confused as all of you guys watching this playthrough are with this mystery. With the first game, it's like the mystery felt like it was a little bit more straightforward and simple. Even though that kind of ended up being a little bit complicated at the end. But this one is, God, there's so much going on. She notices me as well, and the girl, Yukiko, shivers. Hey, Kaihara-san.
Hello?
Yukiko timidly bows her head. What brings you here?
Nothing really.
Yukiko hangs her head. The gesture seems to contradict her words. Alright. I don't pry, instead leaning on the guardrail and looking out over the pond. Several dead leaves are trapped in the layer of ice. The ice doesn't break up when I poke at it with a fallen branch, instead floating out toward the middle of the lake.
What are you doing?
Nothing of note. I toss aside the branch. Nothing compared to what you're worrying about.
Why do you think I'm worrying about something?
Yukiko tilts her head, an uneasy expression on her face. I can just tell. I had an old friend who would stand around out here with that kind of look on her face.
Uh-huh.
It looks like she's not completely satisfied with that answer. I didn't really feel like explaining further myself.
What should I do from here on?
Yukiko says. Worried about your future? That's a common worry for people her age.
My mom has taken care of me up until now, so I'd like to pay her back, but...
Yukiko hangs her head, looking out onto the pond. This is just my personal opinion, but I doubt your mom wants you to return the favor or anything. At the very least, a regular parent, one who's lovingly raised her child, wouldn't.
But I'm not even her real child.
Have you never felt that your mother loved you?
It's not like that. My mom's very kind to me.
Yukiko shakes her head.
But I still... Well, that's why I want to repay her.
Sounds like you already have your answer.
Maybe so, but I don't know if this will really repay her or not.
There's no need to rush, is there? You're still young. You've got plenty of time to figure this out.
You're right.
It's essentially just putting aside the issue, but Yukiko agrees. If it were an easily solvable problem, she wouldn't be worrying about it in the first place. Even if it's just putting it aside, I feel like it's better for her to feel at ease about it now.
Thank you.
Yukiko bows her head. I give her an ambiguous nod, feeling like I shouldn't tell her I didn't do anything. After dinner and a bath, the last thing on my agenda is sleep. Oh yeah, Yukari. Do you have classes starting tomorrow?
Tomorrow is the opening ceremony, so I don't actually have classes until Tuesday.
It's much shorter than summer break, huh?
I'm just happy we get a break at all for New Year's. There's so much cleaning to do and all.
You won't get that break when you start working.
Every day is like a break for you, isn't it, Nissan?
Hey, I'm working as hard as I can, you know.
I know.
Yukari offers me a cup of tea.
Is your work going well?
Well enough. I answer ambiguously.
I hope it's resolved soon.
Yeah. I blow on my hot tea as I again give an ambiguous answer.